What? Oh man, his back's turned to me. Hello everyone, Doc here. Cosmos is upset at me. Well, it's not my fault. See, on the short film, YouTube 49, Under the Big Mussolini, he had his foot where he was rubbing it there at the end. So I said, okay, fine. If you're going to have a lucky human foot, I'm going to get a lucky rabbit's foot. And now he's mad. I have a rabbit's foot, a lucky rabbit's foot right here. Here, you can hold it. No, he's not. He wants nothing to do with it. In this upcoming short, we're going to talk about Under the Clallam Bay and what the seafloor looks like. And here's a 3D image of what it looks like without water. Now, let's study it. Let's look at the troughs in here. There's some interesting ditches, as I call them, that go in direct parallel to the shore. Now, I believe these are from draggers. These metal barn doors come down to the seafloor, they dig into the bottom, and these nets pull up everything in its path. And if you notice in these areas where these ditches are, there's really not a lot of anything in their way to stop a net. So things are pretty clean, don't you think, on the seafloor here? And we're making a nice drift now from Slip Point to the west over to Sekiu Point and into the Olson's resort area. Now remember, we're inside. We're not outside both points. We're inside the slip, and we're also inside Sekiu Point. We're in the Clallam Bay itself. And we're only in about 60 to 90 feet of bottom depth here in some cases. We can get down to 65 as we get in towards the rocks. But we want to kind of stay clear of these rocks in here. Now, sometimes the water is going to appear kind of a greenish, hazy color. That's because we get a lot of algae that comes through the Straits of Juan de Fuca and starts to grow in these shallows. So that's why sometimes the picture will be real crystal clear and other times it'll be murky. Continuing our drift, we're coming now into an area that seems to me has caught a lot of fish. I know Truex over years past with his Woody's charters did really well on halibut in these shallows. I've heard stories of gentlemen, I don't know his name, in one of the derbies, but what had happened was his boat conked out and he was right in these flats, so he decided to drop his gear and mooch, and he won the derby out there in this area. So these flats, these trenches that you see, really at times are kind of puzzling why they're in such straight lines. And why is there not like a lot of sea life in here? And as we get up into our next film short, okay, I'm just going to keep pressure on it. Catch that big elusive fish, but you just weren't sure where you needed to be. This is the spot. The main fish drag out of Sekiu, Olson's Resort. Wow, what a good place to troll. Usually the water's flat when that bow faces south. We can get a good troll going, and these fish are always suspended above the seafloor. Now you're looking at a map of the big Mussolini, the little Mussolini, the stump hole, the waterfall hole, all that we've talked about in the past U-tubes. These rocky bottoms hold a lot of fish, and when you get the three combinations put together, current, a haven to hide in and food, that's the little Mussolini, that's the big Mussolini, that's the slip, that's this area you're looking at here with a nice sea floor to troll over, because these fish are going to lie in this area right on the bottom, and they're going to face current. Now, if you look closely at the waves in this particular shot, there should be no reason why you get lost in the fog. I was taught by the tribal trollers of the Macaw Nation that that surge runs west to east. So when you're out in the fog and you're not quite sure which direction you're going, pull that boat into neutral and just let the current take you, and you will discover which way's west and which way's east. And if you can't figure out south at that point, I can't help you. Now, as we start moving into this 165 foot of bottom depth and start coming up a little bit shallower, we discovered maybe this is an invasive species that's entered the Straits of Juan de Fuca. If you get online and look up the Colonial Club tunicate, this has really done a lot of damage on Vancouver Island. And of course, Sekiu and the little Mussolini, the big Mussolini and Slip Point, all these fish are close to that island of Vancouver. And things get transferred real easy. As we fish for these suspended fish out in this 190, wow. You look at the seafloor and all of a sudden the rocks are gone and it's turned into sand. Halibut can be taken in this area off of Slip Point, the Greenville. As you troll close to the bottom with your gear, this bottom is not rocky, it's just flat sand. And so keep your gear deep in this 200 foot. And the way that we found that works the best is use these 5-6 nickel hooks, guts in on a big piece of bait, run that trailer right through the main body, and keep your thumb next to the opening where you pull the hook through so you don't open it any wider than you have to. Of course, high center cuts are really the best. That hook goes on the high side of the cut. Trim the tail off, and king, the downrigger. Put her down 275.